Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Open the Vaults. It's every Friday we come online, we try and get some special guests on, which I have for you this week, and we talk about what's been going on in Warhammer 40k, in tournaments, lists, rumours, anything like that. But this week I'm joined by two veterans of the game, two guys I've played against a lot and I've known for a while, and they're both very good players. I've got Kyle Grundy to my left, that way. Say hi, Kyle. And I've also got Tom Higginbottom to my right. Now you will notice that Tom doesn't move much, and that is because that is a picture of Tom, unfortunately, because he's too cheap to get some decent internet. These guys are here to tell you all about their lists and why they chose them. So I think we'll start with Kyle. Could you? Just so everyone knows, right now at time of filming, which is 8 o'clock on Friday, we've the Cali list document has dropped, so everyone's list is out there, so you can all see them. But Kyle, if you can go through your list for people who haven't got it in front of them and just kind of run down exactly what it is, and then kind of explain why it is you chose it.
Yeah, sure. So the Tau list basically consists of two septs. So you've got your most common one, which is the Tau sept, which obviously, as you know, if you don't know, it allows you to Overwatch on 5+ and 6s, obviously. And then the other one is the Sasea. So that's purely used for rerollable Markalites and a really nice strat that allows you to spend 2 CP, and you choose a target, and anything within 6 inches of that unit gets a free Markalite hit on it. So it's really good against like hordes and just targets that you really need to kill that are clumped up. So I've got a battalion of the Sasea sept, and that's just got a Cadra Fireblade, so just there for a Markalite 2+ BS, a Comstar Commander with a shield generator and 3 missile pods, 3 5-man strike teams, and then your typical 3 Firesight Marksmen. Again, they're characters. They are a 3+ rerollable Markalite, 'cause it's Sasea. And then I've gone for an Outrider detachment, which has a standard commander in XV8 with 4 missile pods, because they took a massive points drop in chapter approved. And then I've gone for a spicy unit of crisis suits, because they deserve some TLC after being in the for a while. And that's a of 5, with 4 of them have a triple missile pod, and 1 of them has 2 missile pods but with a shield generator, and it's got the iridium armor, which bumps him up to a 2+ save, and I'll go into a little bit about that later. And also accompanying that unit is 5 shield drones. Then I've got 3 units of shield drones, a unit of 5, 2 units of 4. We all know what they do.
Yes, we do. Yeah, everyone.
A Vanguard detachment again. Yeah, do. I've got a Vanguard detachment. He's a warlord. He's got the trait that allows skull 3 unit devastation. So anything within 6 inches of him, you choose a target. Sorry, any units within 6 inches of him, on a roll of a 6 to wound, you get additional AP, and all you have to do is see a target and you pick it. And then in that, I've got 3 Riptides armed with the heavy burst cannon, 2 smart missile systems, target lock, and velocity tracker. So move and shoot without penalty, and +1 to hit fly keyword. And that's pretty much my list. So now, just before I go into it, I have a Facebook Messenger group which is full of some key Tau players, and a couple of shouts out. Bernard Lee's helped design this list. In fact, he's very keen on the mobile list in terms of manoeuvrability and getting to those objectives and pushing midfield. So I'll give him credit, because this is more to his style. I'm more of a broadside man. So I thought I'd out simply because I am a little bit sick of playing static Tau. I like to keep things mobile, and the Riptides do that. I think with the ability Master of War, which allows you to Monk or Kion, so Monk being the key one that I like to use, allows you to move in advance if you haven't moved, so it gives you that kind of first turn edge. So if you are being countered, you can push up to a position that you need to be in to get those important shoot that round of shooting off. And also, if you do need to use it later on in the game, you can do Kion or at the beginning. So it gives you a bit of versatility, it gives you a bit of like options, I suppose. Now, a lot of lists that I'm seeing obviously are favouring the broadside simply because they've had a massive points drop, huge drop, and you know what?
Well, that was going to be my first question, mate. Yeah. So, but I mean, as you've explained there, you wanted to go from
I'll go into
one
one.
Yeah.
So, like the good thing about the crisis suits and the broadsides is when the unit of 5 with the shield drones and the missile broadsides are very similar points. I think there's like 10 points in it.
Yeah.
So it's a Cali playground to see, you know what, I've had a couple of test games with them, see how they do. And you are, I was speaking with Manny, you are exchanging survivability for to play old school Tau, which is dropping in, deep striking in and getting to where you need to be. Is Ravagers. Okay, so you know, Ravagers back of the board and start off with, if I can drop in away from a main line and deal with those Ravagers without having to kind of move around and try to get them, it gives you so much options, especially against Reapers as well. The amount of minuses to hit. If I can
was about to say,
I can get really close.
Stuff like spears as well that hide. You know, they'll come in, blow something up, run away and hide or whatever, and you can just drop in behind.
Yeah, it just gives me that edge where if I need to deploy them against a certain list, so a leaf blower list, I'll put them on the board. I've got enough shield drones to keep them alive, and then I could maybe do the Kion and play their game back. But if I need to move and I can afford to keep them in deep strike, it just gives me that added pressure that I can add when I need to. So one thing I've always struggled with is stuff coming in later on in the game, because it's something to think about. It's something to get hidden, because that's one of the problems, I suppose, with a list like I've got. My characters are very important, and they dish out a lot of shots. Missile Manders, 8 shots, hitting on 2s, strength 7, with the potential of +1 to wound as well, with the Tau strat.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of firepower within those commanders, so hiding them is an issue. So I thought, well, I can play the game back. I can have something up in the sky waiting for when my opponent makes a mistake so I can capitalise on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, even putting a commander or 2 in the sky, it's a good tactic, and it can really pay off depending on matchup. So I wanted to keep it mobile. I wanted to see how it performs, and you know, I don't think I need to go into detail about the Riptides. The triple Riptides is something you see a lot, and you know, going first with Tau, and you've got your Riptides on 3-up invuns. They're very hard to ship.
Yeah. Well, they got a 2+ save as a standard anyway, so even if you don't go first, they're still pretty resilient, aren't they? But I mean, I have to admit, I'm seeing a lot less of the 3 Riptide variant now, purely because you can only give one Riptide the extra 6 shots and the 3+ invuln. So you tend to see people just taking 1 now, because you know, 1 is all you can buff. And then, you know, I've seen a lot more people, like you say, jump over to broadsides because the points have come down quite dramatically. So why 3 Riptides? Will you because I mean, you say you spend your command point and you go, okay, this guy's going to have 18 shots and he's going to have the 3+ invuln, and then say you give your other guys the 18 shots, which I imagine is what you're going to want to do most of the time. Surely, you know, a smart opponent is just going to target one of the other 2. He's never going to go for the 3-up invuln.
Do you know? Well, yeah, you make a valid point, but I think there's 2 things for me. Obviously, it's about finding out what your the opponent does. So first thing I always check is, right, talk me through what AP you've got on your list. So if an army, for example, just has AP -1, then I'll never need to do the 3-up invuln. If opponent has them, then I might have to think about it. I've got enough shield drones to tank a first turn heavy shooting for example. So if you've got a lot of AP2, AP3, I've got the shield drones to protect them. The one, in terms of the one that has the 3-up and the big gun, and the others, I can decide. Now, another one that I always try to convince myself to do, but I always forget or wuss out, is doing the 2d6 jump move on a Riptide.
Yeah.
To get to where I need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think that's great, yeah.
And you imagine late game in turn 3, because a Tau army, you know, will pull its weight between turn 1 and turn 3, and then got turn 4 and 5 to move into place for objectives.
Yeah.
So that's where that 2d6 Nova. But I tend to get quite lazy and just go 3-up invuln across the board, even if I don't need it, because I'm just used to doing it. So you're going, I don't want to lose my Riptides. But it's about knowing, especially depending on how the terrain's going to be. If I can hide a Riptide behind a piece of terrain to shoot a certain section of an army, then I don't really need to worry about having to keep them all the same. So it's looking at the mission, looking at my opponent's list, and deciding what I want each Riptide to do and where it needs to go. Yeah. And obviously I need to keep it within that bubble, that 6 inches, for the support and fire. You had a question as well before about broadsides, didn't you? Why I didn't go for them?
Yeah, well, you kind of answered that when you said that you'd been playing Static Tower for quite a while and that you wanted to move to something a bit more mobile. Is that the only reason why you didn't choose broadsides?
Yeah, there's another reason as well, and I think every Tower player does share it a little bit, is the fear of just getting tagged. It just takes one model to go up, and then your broadside units just wasted for a turn.
Yeah.
And I don't like that fear factor hanging over me, because it kind of in a way hinders the way I play. Because if I'm thinking about that, the chance to extend or not extend enough because I'm fearful of being tagged. So I kind of think that hinders my playstyle, and it's something that I've always tried to kind of work on and get better at. But without the wraps, the bubble wraps, we're not seeing as many Fire Warriors as we used to. We're not seeing like Manny's silly list with 140 Fire Warriors.
Yeah.
Manny's now gone from 140 to 45.
Yeah,
So-
well, I
More
thought,
than that.
yeah, I think 45 was quite low, because Fire Warriors are just, they're so points efficient. It's crazy. But I mean, you've only got 15 in your list. Do you find that that's as much bubble wrap as you need?
I think it's more of a point of I would love to take more, but with the synergy of the list, when you're getting down to 3 Riptides, Crisis Suits, Commanders, it's almost like an auto-include. It's I want 3 Commanders, I want 3 Riptides, and I've got some stuff for something else, and then I'm scraping my points. Now, I couldn't fit any more in because of this. The combination of 8 suits rather than an enforcer, which, if you don't know the difference, enforcers have an extra wound, they have 6 wounds, and XV8 is 72 points rather than 76 for the extra wound. So I had to literally strip my commanders as best I can just to fit those points in, to squeeze stuff in. So it's not the fact I haven't taken more out of choice, it's because I couldn't, because of the style that I was going for. And I'm not going to drop any more shield drones. I'm not going to obviously drop a crisis suit, because then if I drop a crisis suit, there's no point in taking that unit, because I figured that 5, any less than 5, there's just no point.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean.
It was difficult. But no, I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing how it'll play out. I'm looking forward to, again, like I said, using my crisis suits again, because, you know, back in the day, I can't remember which edition it was. It was when you could take formations. You know, in the book that they had set formations. Was that 6th or 7th ed? I can't remember.
What do you mean, like Riptide Wing?
Yes. That kind of
7th. Yeah.
So 7th, I really liked taking, you know, the broadside formation that sits at the back, and then there was one called the Retaliation Cadre. So it was a commander and 3 units of crisis suits and a unit of broadsides.
Yeah.
They drop in. And it was a really nice tactic of having backfield and then suddenly being behind your opponent. So
you got like +1 to hit or something like that, didn't you? And you're deep struck.
Yeah, that's.
It was really cool to play. It was really fun, and I'm not saying my lists are fluffy, but by the Tau fluff, the whole deep striking element to it and dropping in was really cool.
Yeah.
And you know, and the models are awesome as well. And I think the points drop has definitely done them justice. But I think the missile pod price reduction to 15 points a missile pod from 24, I believe. It was like a 9 points drop.
Yeah.
It's made it extremely viable. And the one thing that I'm hoping to play out is, and I'll give away a little tactic, it's not exactly, you don't need to be a genius to work it out, but the reason for the guy with the 2-up save is me and Bernard Lee were discussing about how much he could tank. If you put this unit of crisis suits and deep strike him in cover, and let's say looters are shooting at you with a -1, strength 7, 2 damage, with all of the shots in the world after strats and stuff, realistically, this guy can tank 36 wounds with a cheeky reroll, perhaps. He's got a 1-up save in cover, so even -1, he can sit and tank all that damage after once your shield drones have gone.
Yeah.
So he can keep that crisis suit alive, and there's lots of other units that can dish out horrendous amounts of shots.
Yeah.
That one guy, and not that I would spend the CP on doing it, but you imagine how annoying it would be for an opponent if, let's say, I'd taken 2 wounds, and then my next turn I spend 2 CP to recover D3 wounds, and I recover 2 wounds, then he's back to full wounds, and I can choose to allocate again, rather than auto remove alter.
That one day we went to, or Dan was at last weekend, and I walked around, was just watching the games and stuff like that. There was a Orcs versus 9 broadside matchup, and the Orcs went first, so the Tau player played prepared positions, and the looters mobbed up, they jumped, and then unloaded everything into this one squad of broadsides. I don't think he dropped a single broadside.
Yeah. No,
I think one just took like 2 wounds, I think it was, or something like that, but I don't think he dropped like a single broadside.
Well, so Carl, correct me if I'm wrong, but am I right in saying that, you know, the way the shield drones work is you keep taking saves. So say, you know, you got 5 wounds on this broadside unit, and you pass 4 2-ups, and then you fail 1. So before you take that wound, you then go on a 2+. The drone will take that. Is that right?
No, I think what you
saves.
do is you do it before saves.
Okay.
But what you can is you can basically say, right, okay, let's say you've got 4 shield drones, right? I'm going to take the first 4. You could even be, I can't really say it, but you could be annoying and just do 1 at a time if you wanted to, just to see how it pans out. So you can go right on a 2+, it's on this one, and you can keep doing it. So I usually go right. The first 4, I'm going to go on this unit of 4 shield drones. So I try to remove it quickly as possible rather than making the game drag on. But you can do it until you deplete. And then let's say if you want to keep 4 shield drones alive for maybe another unit, you can then go right. Well, I'm going to tank the rest on the unit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you really, and it's really. It's quite interesting to see how if the opponent knows, then they'll try and bait you. So it's almost like you're playing a game of poker and like waiting for you to do all your shield drones, and then it's like, and by the way, here's this las cannon, or here's this extra unit that's going to shoot you. So you have to be very strategic in terms of when you place it on drones and when you take it on the unit that's been shot at.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh.
How are you finding the new missions with Tau, Carl?
Okay, here's a bit of a confession. I played against Eldar on Michael Club Leeds Battle Bunker, and a guy called Jordan Clifford, not if you know him. And I wanted to play the one mission that I thought would be perfect for Tau, and they should usually win it, because it's one of the ones where you can claim objectives if you have the fly keyword. I think it's mission 4 in the Cali pack. And it's 1 to 4 or Eternal War, and if you have a model with the fly keyword, you can you score it. But I ended up losing that game against Eldar. I ended up losing the one that I thought would be an easy.
They've got more fly. Yeah, they've got more fly.
Well, yeah, I suppose, to be honest with you, I was going against 3 Wave Serpents, and my one mistake was I was still too cautious about using my crisis suit, so I deployed them behind line of sight so that the Reapers couldn't just shoot them. But what I should have done is just deep struck them straight in the middle of the table, taken the Overwatch from Reapers with that 2 CP strat that they've got, lost maybe a crisis suit and the 5 shield drones, and then just annihilated them. And then the rest of the game I would have been pressurizing everywhere where I need to be. So he just lost his Reapers from a Riptide and then just shifted his army over to the other side. And his Wave Serpents were so difficult to kill with Missile Pod Crisis Suits. I was there literally until turn 5 trying to kill bloody Wave Serpents.
Yeah, be like 1 damage each, right?
That's exactly.
I learned something about Wave Serpents, and it was Jordan that pointed out. Now, correct me. I hope I am right about this, but if I'm wrong, fair enough. But it says you reduce the damage per weapon, not for each damage that you do. For each yeah. So I've had it where in other games people haven't been playing that way. But the annoying thing is when I've got 28 missile pod shots and I'm having to do everyone separately. That just added.
It's not universally sort of known. I think that it's just I've first heard of it about 6 months ago. I think it was, but yeah, maybe it's just people not wanting to use it that way, you know, so they're not very forthcoming with it. But they should be. They really.
Okay. So what you're saying is that if you had 4 missile pods on a broadside, you would roll them all individually.
So it reduces damage by 1 per weapon. So if you've got a weapon that's got 1 shot, it'll reduce it by 1. If it's got a weapon that's got 2 shots, like an autocannon, it'll only reduce 1 of them damage instances by 1.
Okay.
So if both the autocannons go through, it would take 3 damage.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that would make sense. I think that's probably what they meant, to be totally honest with you. But I've never seen it played that way. So
never
I think
in my life.
if you were to argue that in a tournament, I think even the TO would kind of stop you doing that.
I've heard of it being ruled that way once.
Oh,
that's it. Once by a TO.
So just so I can get clarification, are you saying that, let's say in Cali that we go to, it's not going to be played that way, or is it going to be played the way? I'm not sure it's been brought to Tim's attention. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's always worth asking Tim, seeing what he thinks. But I think with the, with the kind of referees that Tim has, which are normally quite, they're normally England players or ETC players. I don't think that they would rule it that way. It would be as every lot of damage is reduced by 1, because I think it's been ruled that way in the ETC FAQ.
Okay, because I think the one thing that it taught me in that game when I was playing is that, for example, I shot with my missile pods first, when actually, if we were playing the rule as it's written, I should have shot my Riptide first, because then if it, let's say, does 6 damage, because it's 2 damage apiece, you'd only lose 5, for example.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting. But like as I said, I love the new missions. I played 2 or 3 of them. That was one of the ones that I thought I'd practice before Cali, and I'm really enjoying it. I think the deployment thing. I think Dan, you touched on it. It just adds a new element to the game rather than doing this. You drop 1, I drop 1, and you get +1. It kind of changes the way that you deploy, and I think for Tau that's great, because if I know I'm going second, I can counter deploy my whole army away. Or if I always struggle with placing 1 units here, hoping that I might get first turn or that, and then my army's trying to evenly spread out. Whereas if I know I'm going second, or potentially going second, I can just deploy in a corner or move my castle elsewhere. And if I do a cheeky steal, then I can Monker into place, back into position where I would have deployed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I like it.
Yeah. No, I really do, and I mean, we'll be kind of releasing more and more information about the the St George's Champion rules pack. But we've kind of decided that rule of because Tim did try it in the winter warm up of just applying that rule of. One person deploys their entire army first, and then and then it goes on to the other person, and then they decide who goes first or second. We found he just kind of said every mission, doesn't matter what mission you play, whether it's chapter approved or not, you will use that. And I find it so good. I think it really improved the game. So all of the missions in the St George's Champion will be using that rule. Cool. So yeah. Cool.
I think that's how the ETC have ruled as well, right? Or they voted the captain's vote.
Yeah, all
their missions are going to be that way.
Yeah, there was a captain's vote. They've they've brought through a few things, haven't they? I think they're using that on everyone. I think they're removing the sudden death rule, like the chapter approved rules have as well.
Yeah.
So that that's kind of veering again more to the ITC, and they've also said that they want to use the. I believe it was the rule where you take 6 cards out of your Maelstrom deck your Maelstrom deck every game that you just don't want to do. I mean, obviously at the St George's Champion you won't be using a Maelstrom deck, but yeah, I think if you do have to play Maelstrom, it definitely helps to try and level the playing field, I think so.
Hands on, I love taking 6 cards out. I can just say I get rid of Blood and Guts every game.
Yeah, and then as soon as it says combat phase or assault phase, just gone.
Yeah, gone. Get rid of that. I'm not hitting on 5s. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So I think that's thank you for going through your list, Carl. That was great. So Tom, we're on to yours.
Mm-hmm.
We're on to yours, mate. So for people who haven't got the list pack in front of them, would you be kind enough just to go through your list?
Yeah,
please?
Sure. So we've got a Prophet of Flesh battalion with a homunculus with a whip, stinger pistol. He's the warlord with the Vexator mask and Diabolical Soothsayer. So Diabolical Soothsayer is reroll A to hit, to wound, or saving throw once per game. And D3 extra command points at the start of the game, so that's nice. And the Vexator mask is basically one of the best relics in the game, in my opinion. It's no Overwatch, and at the start of the fight phase, you pick a unit within 6, and they fight last.
Yeah. It's almost it's like 2 relics in one, isn't it? That
it's amazing.
Pretty much all other armies have like one relic that does both like one of those things, and that just combines them. Yeah, it is a great relic. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, you can't spread the risk, so if he takes a couple of too many sort of Castellan missiles or something like that, it's a bit risky, but still really good, really good relic. There's so many matchups where you just think I can win this matchup just because of that mask. If you just stay in your little castle or whatever. But yeah, so then the second HQ in the battalion is Urian, and then the troops are 5-man rack units, just stock as they come. And then 3 times 7 grotesque. And then the Outrider detachment is a Shadow Seer. He's got Webway Dance and Twilight Pathway, so that's the move again, and the 6-inch Feel No Pain aura powers.
Yeah.
2 lots of 6 Skyweavers, with 5 Zephyr Glaives and 1 Star Bowler. I put a Star Bowler in just because that's the first bike that dies every time. It's just a cheap one.
Yeah.
He just comes out, so...
That's a good idea, actually, yeah. Yeah, I've not seen that being done before, but yeah, that's a good point.
And then 2 Skyweavers, just to fill out the Outrider. And then an auxiliary Farseer Skyrunner with Doom, obviously.
Awesome.
I have been running this without the Doom Seer and stuff like that, but for 137 points, I can't really make anything else in the list that much better. It's like 2 bikes. So it's better to have rerolls to wound on the bikes that you have rather than have just 2 extra bikes.
Yeah.
And it also works out
in a team event. You're never going to have that. But in a singles event, why would you not take that? It's just it makes your haywire just like absolutely outstanding rather than just really good. So
it also doubles up the grotesque. Doubles up the grotesque as well, because they hit on 3s the grotesque, but on turn 3 they hit on 2s, and they're strength 6 with Urian. So if you can put Doom as well with them, and they've got 2 weapon profile, the grotesques. They've got the cleavers and the gauntlets. The cleavers are strength user -2, and the gauntlets are strength user no rend, but on a 6 to wound it's mortals. So if you slam into like demons, for example, and you don't need the rend because it's a 5-up imble one way or the other, you're using your Doom there, and you're just fishing for more 6s. So 6s are mortals in addition, the same way as a sniper round would use. So you generate an extra sort of dead mortals, if you will, kind of just from the same amount of attacks, really. Or Slam Captain comes near you or something like that, you can just use the mortals. Archons on the 2-up invulns, you use the mortals, you know. All that stuff that's supposed to be really hard to get through or whatever, you just use the mortals, and they'll get rid of it. Because if you use the gauntlet, it's 4 attacks, but you can use the cleaver as well, because it says each time this model fights, it may make an additional attack with this weapon. So you can take your 4 from the base model and then just throw your extra 1 on, you know, like a chainsword kind of thing, like a free extras. So you don't actually lose any attacks if you choose the gauntlet. You can just throw the cleaver on there. So that's good.
Nice. Okay, so I mean, I've got a couple of questions that I'm curious about. So I've seen people start to take racks now rather than Cabalite warriors. Is there a reason for that?
Well, the Dark Eldar Codex is split into 3. Now, when you look at a normal codex, you just take, say, your captain or your chaplain or librarian or whatever, and you can just put scouts or normal dudes or interceptors. No, inceptors are the normal primaris dudes or whatever.
Yeah.
The Dark Eldar book's split into 3. You can't take Coven units and get all your 4-up invul and have Cabalites. You have to take the racks. Otherwise, it's not a pure attack.
Racks, then.
So if you see something like Grotesques and Talos or something like that, it's going to be racks.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. No worries. And also, obviously, everyone knows that the kind of go-to unit for Dark Eldar is Talos. So why have you gone Grotesques instead of Talos? I mean, you've got a good 735 points there of Grotesques, which gives you what, 7 Talos?
Yeah.
So why have you gone Grotesques over Talos?
So 7 Talos is 49 wounds, right? 21 Grotesques is 84 wounds.
Okay. I see.
They move up the board just like Talos do. You lose the Haywire, but I've got Haywire on the bikes.
Yeah.
They're just so really you're getting 3 Talos for every 3 Grotesque for every Talos. So that's 12 wounds compared to 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the T6 is probably just as good as T7, really.
Yeah, I can't see much difference between them. Yeah.
The occasional thing, you know, like so Kyle's missile pods would make a difference there, for example, and the Riptides, I guess, because they'd be wounding Talos on 5s unless he does his +1 to wound. So there are some circumstances where it's, you know, better to beat the T7, obviously, but unless you're T8, it doesn't really matter what you are as long as you're like over 5. There's like that sweet spot, isn't there, where there's like damage, there's strength 4 and 5 weapons that have a lot of shots or whatever, but the T6 just pushes it over that. So it's that little sweet spot, you know.
Okay.
They're infantry,
I see
so
what you mean.
they can run through walls.
Yeah.
Like Talos have to go round now because the fly nerf.
Yeah, they'd have to charge round, wouldn't they? Yeah, that's a good point. Ramsey's also brought up another good point, which is you've got a Harlequin detachment, you've not got a Solitaire in there.
No.
Did you not fancy him? Because
so that's one of the things. That's one of the things that the Farsi could go for. Could just go for the. If you were going for the ECC style,
I'd take a Farseer over a Solitaire any day of the week. But that's true actually. I mean, what's a Solitaire? He's like 90 points, isn't he?
98 or something like 97.
Yeah, 100 points.
Smidge under 100, yeah.
That's a lot to drop out of your list, isn't it? Really. I mean, that's 2 bikes, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I love the Solitaire. I think he's great, but I don't think he's worth 2 bikes at this point in your list.
I've heard him referred to as well as the Noob Stomper. Like, if you play someone that doesn't play a lot of games or whatever, they don't wrap the characters properly, you can get him in quite easily.
Yeah, with that flat 3 damage relic against
if you play someone that's a little bit more sort of savvy with their positioning, he doesn't get in quite as easily as he does in other games. But I really do like him. I do like him. But,
okay, interesting. But yeah, I mean, everyone's seen those Skyweavers go around. and they are absolutely awesome. I really like the idea of you putting the Star Bolas on one of each of your guys as the first one to die, and saving you. Is it 15 points? I think it's saving.
No, it's only like 6. It's only 6. It's not a huge amount.
Oh,
really
okay.
Huge
The
amount.
Zephyr Glaives are 5 points each, are they not?
Yeah.
So if you
6.
take that.
Sorry, 6.
Okay, yeah. So if you take one of those out of each of the units, that's like 18 points that you're saving.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really clever idea. I really like that, and the Farseer is an obvious choice. Grotesques are interesting. I like the fact that you're not thinking about the damage output, because I have to admit
they still put a lot of damage out, man. Like,
yeah, when they get there,
they're not to be messed with.
But I mean, I've played against Talos a few times, and I'm always quite disappointed with their damage output. I always seem to expect them to do more than they do. So yeah, I like the idea of just going, do you know what, they're probably not going to do a fat lot anyway compared to the bikes, so I'm just going to go purely on. And I imagine the Grotesques are just literally just running up the board and just being you can shoot my bikes if you want that are doing all the damage, but if you do, then this is this threat is going to get into your lines eventually, and then it's too late.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good pressure list. I really like it. How far do Grotesques move per turn?
7.
So
Talos move 8.
Talos move 8. Cool. And do you have a
You
way
got
of
rerollable charges from turn 2 and stuff like that. So if it's a long charge, you can have a second go at it if you need to.
Do you have a way of advancing and charging?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
But
cool.
they get their turn 2 because they start on the line more often than not.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They advance turn 1, so they're in the middle of the board at the end of their turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the other differences between the Talos and the Grotesque, so 300 points of Talos is 15 of their scalpel ones, which are the strength +1 -2 flat 2.
Yeah.
That one, they're good one, not their horde killer, but that one. So they'd have 15 attacks, 3 of them, 3 Talos. The Grotesque, 300 points of Grotesque would be 40 attacks on the -2 profile.
Wow. Bloody hell. 40 attacks. And then, like you say, hitting on 2s from turn 3 onwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tasty.
So there's a stratagem as well to give them reroll to wound if you want to. So you could doom one target and then use the strat on the other.
Yeah, Mark used that against me actually the other day when at the other weekend, and I couldn't believe that I hadn't come across this stratagem before. I mean, I'd played Talos plenty of times before, and no one had used that against me. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And he was like, no, seriously, Dan. Seriously, I'm going to roll to wound against you now. No, I couldn't believe that I hadn't seen anyone use that before. I thought it was very strange. But
yeah.
You broke up a little bit. What was the damage output for those Grotesques again?
The damage 1, but they'd have 8 of them would have 40 attacks, which is the same points as 3 Talos, basically.
Right.
Who have 15. They have the chain flails, the Talos. So they'd have 30 in that circumstance with the reroll to wound weapon.
Yeah.
But I'm applying that with Doom or the stratagem, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm getting more attacks in that instance, plus the mortals as well on the 6, which would it's like generating extra wounds that way as well.
Yeah, that's really nice. That'll soon stack up. That will. Mortal wounds, they're really important nowadays. Just to get.
It's situational, right? Because you really need that thing that you're hitting to just have an invul. Like more often than not, it's better to just hit them with the -2 if they've got like armors and stuff like that. But yeah, situationally, it's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, just from my point of view as well. I mean, like, when those Grotesques are going to hit my line, and they are going to hit my line, I'd be forced to have like the Riptides with, either if I do 3-up invuln against your shooting because you're going to pressurize me, you hit those lines with those mortal wounds, and suddenly my Riptides are stripped. They're going to get those mortal wounds through, and my Riptides are going to start dropping. And with the amount of attacks, 40 attacks, you're at least going to get maybe 4 or 5 mortal wounds, at least. So that hurts.
Yeah,
it definitely hurts.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, Tom. I think it's a really good list. I think it's a
sneaky list.
Yeah. It's a little different. And I think it'll catch a couple of people off guard. I think it's a good job.
So I've taken it to 4 events now. I think 4 events, 3 1-dayers and 1 2-dayer. I've won 2 of the 1-dayers. I came second in the other of the 1-dayers. I can't remember what I did at Eggs. I think it was like 20th or something because I lost to Space Marines round 1. Honestly, I nearly left. I nearly walked out and I was like, Tim, I'm not having it. I'm gonna go.
Right, what was this Space Marine list, Tom? Come on, enlighten us. What was this Space Marine list?
It was it was Big Bobby G and aggressors and some crap. What they call the Forge World tanks that ignore modifiers. Gosh, I can't remember.
Spartans, is it?
Oh, Relics of Karans.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Accelerator water cannons or something like that. I can't remember. Yeah. But good God, did they put some wounds on my grotesque? God, he was making me take like 25 saves per aggressor squad. And I was like, I can't keep up with this. I think by the end of my turn 1, I just didn't appreciate sort of how much damage he was going to put down on me. I would have like played defensively or sat back or deep struck them all or just something different. I was like, oh, I'll just smash into these, it'll be fine. It was not fine, and it did not go.
Oh, Space Marines, easy.
It was not.
I got this.
Yeah, when you actually get there, they've all got power fists as well.
Yeah. Oh, everyone forgets that.
It was gross, man.
Yeah.
It was gross.
Yeah. Liam, who is my missus' brother, he's just started playing. I lent him some aggressors because I love them. And he's just fallen in love with them. He thinks they're brilliant, and he's started to write his own lists now, and all of them start with 18 aggressors, captain, lieutenant. Okay, what else can I fit in?
No. Banner.
Yeah, the banner. Yeah, you gotta get the banner in there.
Gotta get the banner.
Yeah, no, they're awesome. I love the aggressors. So. Awesome, right? Well, thank you for coming on, boys. Really appreciate it. I think that's. I've learned a lot there, just by you guys kind of breaking down your lists. Because I think they're both a little different, a little out there. They're not what you the standard stuff that you always see. So that's always good. I would like to invite you both back on to next week's Open the Vaults. And what we'll do then, I'll give you a week to go through that that list pack, and then I'd like you to pick a list that you think is really good, and that you think is could win the event, and then a list that you think is just a little different, a little out there, but actually you think this has got legs, this is going to win game. This could go 4-1 with a good player behind it. Nice. So if you're up for it, I'd love to invite you back. You're more than welcome to come on next week, and we'll talk about that. Manny is also taking Tau, like Kyle, but he's gone for the all broadside list.
Yeah.
He's gone for 9 broadsides and a buttload of firewires.
Point, click, and shoot list. Yeah.
Yeah. So. And that list is evil, like really bad. We were sitting going through the codex and come up with it, and it's silly, like really silly. So Manny will be going through his list and what he expects to do, what he expects to do well against, what he thinks he might struggle with on his Monday night mashup, because he's back on there now. It won't be this beautiful face on there this Monday. It'll be his. And he'll be going through everything about his list, so make sure you join him on. It's normally about 9 o'clock that he does that on Monday. Like I said, I hope you guys have. I hope everyone's learned something here. I know I certainly have. Please join us next week, which will be the night before the tournament, and hopefully, Tim normally does kind of matchups, doesn't he?
We'll know who we're playing. Yeah,
so
this time next week.
I think we could go through who we're playing, what lists they're using, and then kind of talk about some interesting lists that we've seen in the list documents. So awesome, right, guys. In that case, we're going to leave you there. I hope you all have a great weekend. and I will see you all next week.
See you later, guys.
See you later, guys.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.